Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Here we are. We're now with an elder law attorney, the elder law attorney here in South Florida, and that's Joseph KARP. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Anita. How are you?
Oh, just filled with information, from medical marijuana to electrophysiology of the heart to hearing specialists and optical specialists and now you.
Okay, well, we can see if we can round it up.
Yeah,
okay.
you're going to round it up because it all really, it's funny. Everybody works so hard to be well, to have all these things that make their life happier, and then they don't take care of the final arrangements for things so that everything else gets all messed up.
Unfortunately, with many people, that is true. And when people decline, sometimes before their death, where they're going through a process and their family's trying to assist them, or when people die, there's stuff to be done. It just doesn't go away. And then it has to be dealt with. And there are two ways of dealing with it. It's preparation for, and this is certainly, death is an inevitable reality, but people do more preparation for a hurricane which may or may not come, than they do for their own death, which will create a storm and havoc in their families' lives.
Yeah, you are so right about that, and you make it so simple. I mean, I have been a client of Joe KARP's and so many of my friends, and he is simple. He makes it simple, and he shares all that he knows from his other experiences with clients, but he really does care. That's the difference. This is not someone that goes on his computer and works on your all the things that you need. He understands what you need. Everything is specific to you, but he thinks way, way ahead before anything happens, and that's how he plans your estate. And that's, I think, if some people ask me, what is it about Joe KARP that you think is so great? And I think I say that he anticipates, when he works on documents, what might happen 20 years from now. And that's what you do.
Yeah, I try to, and frequently I have to say to people, now I'm going to ask you the question you've never thought about. And some of it is frighteningly, scarily obvious. You have a husband and wife who come in, they have one child, and that one child has either no children or one child who's, 18, 22, 12, and is divorced and stuff like that. And you say, what if, God forbid, something happens to your son or daughter? Who will be in charge then? Who will be in charge of your we're going to assume you're going to leave the money to your grandchild. Who will be in charge of your grandchild's money? Who will be helping you with your medical decisions if your spouse and child are unable to? And sometimes those people say, some of the people say, I never thought about it, which is, I understand why. They've actually just repressed it entirely. Where sometimes people say, well, that's why we've never come in. And I said, oh, so your answer is you want the court to be in charge of who's in charge of your decisions and who's in charge of your money. You want a stranger in a black robe to pick a stranger in a suit or skirt to decide everything about you. Mm-hmm. And then the light goes on. And I say, yeah, I know it's difficult. I mean, I went with a client yesterday, 2 days ago, who is unfortunately has been estranged from his children as a result of a divorce 30 years ago. He had a second wife who had no children, and she just passed away. And the only other person he had in his documents behind her was a cousin who's his age, in his 70s, whose wife now has Alzheimer's, so the guy is and out of state. And he said, it never occurred to me. And I said, well, you've now got to try to put it together and start thinking about what's your best choice. And I gave him some ideas, and I said, now you got to go think about it before you talk to anybody. Maybe you have and somebody you can confide in, but those are troubling issues, and I give them ideas and thoughts and how to work with it. But the answer is, otherwise you leave a mess. And I said, talk to your cousin whose wife has Alzheimer's and see if he has things in place sufficiently with caregivers and whatever that he could take the job, but he's your age and he's under a lot of stress. Find somebody else. So we try to analyze the situations, and we talk about the future. So when somebody says to me, well, we don't face estate taxes, although we have ample resources, we're not going to be estate taxable because the federal number is so high, and Florida has no estate tax. And the couple has $3 million, so we don't need tax planning. So well, you said your children live in Maryland. Is there a reasonable possibility the survivor of you will ultimately end up in Maryland if you're aged and infirm? Yeah. And we say, well, do you know that Maryland has an estate tax? Do you want to plan for that estate tax so that you're not making a decision that says, I've got to stay in Florida, otherwise Maryland will get some of my money? Or do you want to plan for that now as a contingency? And I'll tell you how we can do it. So we try to cover the bases. Obviously, the other bases we try to control are long-term care and disability. Have somebody who just came in and said, what can I do if I end up disabled? There's enough of a family history of long-term disability that I want to do planning, and said I didn't plan with insurance, and now I want to take care of it. I want to plan, and we talked about planning options that give them the ability to control things, but protect assets in the process. So we discussed that, and sometimes I say, you'll never go along with this. This is not going to be suitable for you, either because the nature or the extent of their assets don't allow, or their personality. I say, well, you can create this irrevocable trust and put your daughter in charge, and you can always fire her so you have a lot of control over her because you're the boss. She's still only the worker. I said, but you know what? You're not going to sleep at night if she's the one who can sign checks on your assets, and she can do things because that's not who you are. And they'll say, how did you know that? I said, we talked for 10 minutes. I can see you.
Joe,
when we're talking,
right.
I mean,
you're listening. You are listening.
You are porous. Although I transmit a lot, I receive a hell of a lot more. People don't know it. When I'm talking, I'm still a receiver more than I am a transmitter.
Yeah, that's true. And I you know what I want to do? I'm going to jump in here because I want to make sure that people get a chance to see you. They don't have to actually pay to see you the first time. I mean, you have to understand this. Joe KARP has been providing information at his seminars for, I would say, some 20-some-odd years, long time. And
yes, ma'am. 1994 was the first public workshop.
Amazing. So every month, mostly every month, Joe puts on incredible seminars for all of you who can get there. And it's free, and he chooses very, very nice places. So let me tell you what's coming up now. So today, of course, well, I won't even say what today is, but I want you to know that Tuesday, April 24th, from 1:30 to 4, the Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn will be the place where you'll be able to go. And it's a lovely place to go, as a matter of fact, if you want to just go up there for lunch. But you can go from 1:30 to 4 and hear him. Or Wednesday, April the 25th, from 1:30 to 4, the Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. Or Thursday, April 26th, 1:30 to 4, the Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. You don't need reservations. You just go in. But if you do need information, get on his website. If you can't make these, there'll be others. And go to KARP Law, that's KARPLAW.com. If you want to talk to someone, call him at 1-800-893-9911. And one thing you'll be assured of, you will get a return call, and you will be taken care of properly. I just know so much about them, and I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you want to know where you can pick up a Boomer Times, you can go to his office and do that. And his office is up there in Palm Beach Gardens. So make that phone call or get on the web. And I just needed to do it, Joe, before you continue, because
okay.
Sometimes I
I'm
don't
going
do
to
that.
make a couple of other comments. So
you always do. Go ahead.
One, we will be discussing what people can and can't do for long-term care, how to get Medicaid or VA benefits if it's appropriate. We talk about estate planning, so we talk about trusts, wills, probates, how to avoid all of those negatives. Also, we have an office in Boynton Beach and an office in Port St. Lucie. We have five other lawyers who work with the KARP law firm. One of those lawyers will be with me at all of the seminars, and that's a guy named Jonathan KARP, who's related by blood and marriage. I'm married to his mother, and I'm his father.
Oh, my.
And he's an attorney at the firm, and he will be present at those workshops so people can see the future of the KARP law firm while they see the established KARP law firm.
Wow.
And we have other lawyers so that people can meet, and we work as a team, and clients will get to meet and also what we do is if we think we can help you, we will give you a free consultation at that seminar. We'll give you an appointment for a free consultation. Well, if we think we can't help you, we'll tell you. And but if not, it's an opportunity to get a free consultation. Now, for those of you who just don't want to go to workshops, you can call up and make a $400 consultation with our office. But we feel that the benefits of the workshop are so great and people get so informed that when they're coming in, they have a base of knowledge rather than coming in and asking a bunch of questions to get to the base of knowledge. Because most people think they know what they want, but they don't know all of the stuff. That's why when you go to a doctor, they do blood work and they do other stuff. Even though you may be complaining about one thing, they're looking for the big picture. We try to give you the big picture so that when you come in, you have more thoughts in your mind than you did if you just walked in cold. And
that's great.
So
I'm glad you're bringing your son in there. That's a wonderful thing. Well, Joe, you have so many clients for so long, and everything you've done has provided all of us with the right kinds of experiences, and at the end, things work out well. So why don't you continue with what I wanted to ask you is now with all the new tax laws and things seem so crazy in our government, I don't even know how you know what advice to give them.
Well, first of all, a lot of people don't need tax advice any longer for estate planning in terms of estate taxes. There's a couple of things people should, first of all, they need estate planning advice because they don't know how things pass, what can happen. More and more of my clients are interested in how do I protect the money for my child in the event of a divorce or lawsuit. So we're doing a lot more planning with that built inside where the child is in charge of their own trust, but if they get divorced, their spouse can't get the money. And there's a lot of concern over that, so it can protect the grandchildren. Or if your child is single, but you're afraid they're going to marry or remarry, that the second spouse won't get the money when they die. The classic thing is, I love my daughter-in-law. It's my son's second marriage, but I want to make sure his kids get the money when he dies, not her kids when she dies. So there's a lot of long-range planning. And you know what? This kind of planning is not just for the very wealthy. It used to be everybody said, oh, well, you got to do this only if you're really rich. Oh, really? You don't have to be really rich today, and the terms really rich is all relative, but to make sure you want to make sure your grandchildren are protected versus your son or daughter's second marriage partner and their kids. So a lot of people are interested in that. A lot of people don't know how out of date their documents are. A lot of people don't know how they can plan for long-term care without giving up the freedom to have the use of their money. So there's lots of things that people can plan for that they never thought of. I mean, I have so many people who come in and say, I have a will, or I have a living will. And I say, well, where's your health care surrogate? Because the living will only gives somebody permission to pull the plug. But they can't talk to your insurance company. They can't decide. They can't talk to your emergency room doctor. They can't talk to whomever they have to talk to. And the will says what happens when you die. First of all, we can look as to whether it's appropriate or not. But where's your durable power of attorney? And they say, well, what do I need that for? My wife's the beneficiary of my IRA. And my classic humorous line is, well, what if you get hit by a beer truck? And it only has light beer and it doesn't kill you, and your wife needs to access that money. How is she going to access it except put a pillow over your head and kill you? She can't get to it while you're alive without a durable power of attorney. Or they'll say, well, I signed a medical release at my doctor's office that my wife can get the medical information. I said, well, that's very convenient. I hope you always get sick in your doctor's office, because if you happen to be in a car accident and taken to Bethesda Hospital, you're not going to be in your doctor's office. Where's your wife's proof? And I said, what about your kids? Do they? We give you a flash drive of your health care documents and your other documents so your kids can have the health care documents emailed to them. So if your daughter is skiing in Vail and she gets a call that you're injured, she can go to her smartphone and email the hospital her health care surrogate so she can get information and start making decisions. These are things people don't even think about until it happens. Now, statistically, not all of this happens to all of us, but most of us all walk around with fire insurance. And if you think about fire insurance, all of your listeners, how many of your houses have ever had fires that you filed a claim for? How many of your friends have had fires? Very few.
Unless you lived in California.
Unless you live in California or with this dryness, we're all a little vulnerable. Thank goodness there'll be some rain today. But the answer is you take reasonable protections, and with the stuff I'm talking about, that happens a lot more than fires. People get sick, people get in accidents, people die, people end up in nursing homes. So it's that type of thing. Those are the realities you want to plan to protect from. And remember the other thing, your children will do whatever they got to do for you, for most of you. We're very blessed. Most of our children are good, responsive, etc. But you well know, all of you, your children are busier than hell. They have lives. They have both business and personal responsibilities. You want to facilitate making life easier for them. You don't want to become their burden. They want to be there for you, so it's not like you shouldn't do anything, that you shouldn't name your daughter or your son as your caregiver. That's not if you can't. What you should do is just remember that you also want to take care of making it easier for them to do it so that you can make sure your kids are there for you.
You know, Joe, I have to say this, though, when you talk like this. In every family, and people should understand this, you love your kids and they appear to love you, but in every family there's hostility. Somehow something creeps in, and if you don't have the right attorney to figure that out before it happens, terrible things can happen by one stupid one stupid kid, let's just say that, or one person that isn't so nice. And Joe will pick up on that. I just have to tell you that I don't know what it is, if he's just psychic, but He'll ask the right questions.
I sit there, the first 20 minutes of our hour consultation, which is all about the family. These are the cast of characters, how they interact. And we talk about it, and then when people talk about their plan, we talk about the impact of their plan. So sometimes I have somebody say, my son's a very successful doctor, and my daughter is a divorce school teacher, and she's, taking care of her kid, and she does okay, but she's not in my son's economic league. I'm going to leave him 25% and her 75%. And I'll say, well, can that create problems? And sometimes they'll say, I talked to my son about that. And he said, Mom, it's your money. Do whatever you want. I said, that does not sound like a ringing endorsement. That's not like, Mom, give it all to her.
Right.
That's, Mom, do whatever you want. I said, let me ask you this. First of all, we start to evaluate what that means in terms of raw dollars. How will that impact on their thing? I said, if your daughter needs economic help, would your son help her? Yes, he would. His wife might be a bit of a problem, but he would do it, and I know he would.
Mm-hmm.
I say, then let me ask you this. If out of your $200,000, you left her $150 and you left him $50 instead of $100 each, there's a $50,000 difference, and that's a lot of money. Would your daughter-in-law be a real problem with your son if your daughter needed help, saying, your sister got all of that money that you didn't get? Do you think she would push his buttons and make it difficult for him to help his sister? And then the light goes off. That would be a problem. That would be a problem. I said, well, you got to think about it. I said, you want to give your daughter now money where there's no gift tax issues and there's no problem, or you want to do something with the IRA and make her a beneficiary of it because your son's in a higher tax bracket, but in your written documents, do something that's equal? Is that what you want to do? And by the way, my question is not the answer. My question is just that.
Yeah.
I can't decide what's best for you and your family. I want you to now analyze it because I ask the questions, I get the information, but I can't make that decision any more than you. I had a friend who just had prostate cancer diagnosed. His doctor is not going to say, unless it's absolutely abundantly clear, you do the surgery or you do the radiation. The doctor will give the choices, the doctor will give the pros and the cons, but it's the patient's decision. Barbara Bush was the patient who made the decision, no more treatment.
Yes.
You give the client the information, and when they're absolutely bewildered, then they say, well, what would you do if it was your mother or father? And then I give an answer.
Yeah, I'm sure they all ask you that. Well, Joe, it's always wonderful talking with you, and I hope people will go to your seminars. They are so invaluable. You want to do that. And, of course, if you just go to karplaw.com, KARPLAW.com, you can get a lot of information. Hopefully you'll go to this one. If not, you'll see where the others are. And remember, you can pick up a copy of Boomer Times there, and you'll want to meet Joe Karp. And now you can meet his son, Josh, which is very exciting. John, excuse me. I don't know. Okay,
and
John.
That's okay.
Okay, I got it now.
And I don't think we're going to do a June seminar because I'm going to be going to Israel for 2 weeks with my wife.
Oh, how fabulous.
So I'll do June.
Good.
Well, this is the first time we're not doing a nature trip. We're doing a historical
You're going to go to
trip.
Israel. Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Joe, for being with us this morning. And we'll talk to you again. And please do go to his seminars. You'll love them. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.